Welcome to the Punting is Winning podcast. Just two fans talking all things Hawkeyes. Here are your hosts, JD and Keith.
Welcome back, Hawkeye fans, to Punting is Winning, the All-Iowa podcast. We're your hosts, Keith and JD. And that's another day, another loss for an Iowa basketball team. It seems to be the common theme the last couple of weeks. Not a very good look.
No.
I don't know where you go from here, but got to figure something out. Yeah, let's cover a question of the week, which is in regards to that as well. Question of the week last week was when was the last time Iowa women had a 3-game losing streak? It's now a 5-game losing streak. Just a little spoiler alert. Did have some people respond.
The answer?
Right?
Yeah, most of the people got it because, the funny thing about it is I thought of that question last week right before we came on, and I did all the research. I looked it up. I went through all the schedule and for the last several years, all the way back to 2018, which is the answer. And then I get down from doing this and I go downstairs, and the first thing I see on my phone is that Keith Murphy was saying that Iowa's first time losing 3 in a row since 2018. And I'm like, we just asked that question. Now he's spoiled it already for me. So
yeah.
Anyway, the answer is January 2018. They lost 3 games in a row.
Yep.
I had that. I don't even know who it was. I know Illinois was one. I'd have to go back and look at my notes. I don't have them here.
Oh, in that 3-game losing streak?
But yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters. It was 7 years ago. It's not relevant to the team now that's lost 5. But we'll talk about those losses here in a bit. Let's start out with the men's team first. West Coast trip.
Also a disappointment.
Yeah, West Coast trip playing UCLA or USC, then UCLA. Still waiting for them to show up and play those games because clearly
apparently UPS forgot to deliver the defense for Iowa. Somehow got lost in the mail.
Yeah.
I don't know why it didn't get on the plane to begin with, but yeah, no defense whatsoever for 2 games. Solid. You can't, we go over the first game, USC on Tuesday night, 99-89 loss. Iowa allowed USC to score at will and score at 65% clip for the game.
68% from 3.
How do you do that? 67% from 3. And 35-18, you're out rebounded almost by double. Of course, it's hard to get rebounds when the other team doesn't miss.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, they only had 8 turnovers. They were led by Owen Freeman, 23 points, 6 rebounds. But the funny thing about it is USC only used 7 players. They took 7 players to take Iowa out and score 99 points.
It's a tribute to your defense right
there. It's a tribute to your conditioning, I guess. Extremely poor defense on Iowa's part. Again, this is going to be a theme, I think, throughout for the men. No defense. I'm not sure what the answer is on the defensive end. You got to want to play defense. You've got to be totally into it to play defense. To want to play defense, and they don't. It's pretty obvious they don't. Either that or they've never been taught how to play defense, and I can't think that would be the case throughout their careers, playing high school, junior high. It's effort. And I'm not saying that they're not efforting on at least one end of the court. They're trying on the offensive end. But I think that's always been kind of Fran's thing, outscore the other team. I don't care if you score, if they score 100, score 101.
Yeah.
Well, that works sometimes, and sometimes you get blown out.
Yeah, it's like the old adage, you live by the 3, die by the 3. You live by your offense, you die by it. Because there's going to be games where you're not going to be hitting shots, and if you're not stopping them, you might as well just cash it in at that point. And that's exactly what was happening.
Yeah, I don't know what you can really say about it. Just, you hope that the rest of the season they figure it out. I have a feeling that this trend is going to continue because we don't really know anything else. I mean, the last time Iowa played, what I think has been really good defense. Well, they played a little bit against Indiana, but I think you got an Indiana team coming in last Saturday night that was cold. They couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. I mean, they were just not hitting shots. And when they're not hitting shots and Iowa was actually doing some rebounding, pretty easy to run 25-point, win on somebody.
Last time Iowa played defense was probably Washington State in the Quad Cities.
Yeah. And why would you do that then and not play it now?
Well,
is it a matchup thing where the other team is just so much quicker than you are?
I think,
I mean, I'm asking.
Here's what I'm seeing is you've got a guy who doesn't really start playing his offensive game until the second half. Not for lack of shooting. It's just not hitting anything in the first half. Then all of a sudden he gets hot in the second half. So if you kind of feel that that's a trend, which has been a trend over the last 3 games prior to the UCLA game, maybe put an emphasis on playing stellar, try to play as stellar a defense as you can in the first half, because you've won second half games. You're winning in the second half on most games, but you're not stopping them in the first half at all. You're not even offering any resistance. It's like Hitler going through Poland in 1939. There was nothing there to stop them. And that's exactly what the defenses look like in the first half. Second half, it's not been any better, but we've just actually been able to score. So if you know, or if you have a feeling that, hey, Peyton Sanford's gone out there, he's missed his first 4 shots, haven't even really looked especially good at it, let's try to lock down the defensive effort a little bit and let's wait for him to warm up. You can't continue to get down by 18 to 20 points in the first half and expect to win games. You might do it once in a while, but out of 10 games, you're maybe going to win 2. That's not a good percentage.
Yeah.
And that's going to depend on your opponent too.
Right.
I know that the thought process is probably, well, these guys can't continue to blitz us at a 68 or 70% field goal percentage clip for the entire game. But hey, guess what? They are. Because you're leaving them wide open. You're giving them practice shot threes. You're giving them practice shots from everywhere. Or uncontested layups where you just olay the defense and swipe at them as they go by. And, well, maybe you might get a foul called if it's remotely close, but it's pathetic defensive effort. I want to put all my effort into the offensive side, and quite frankly, that's not winning games now. You can do that all you want.
You're just allowing that.
You can do that crap.
You're allowing that offense to get way too comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that crap when you're playing the Quad 4 teams, the South Carolina upstates and New Hampshires of the world. You can just rely on the fact that you're going to outscore them. You're going to be better athletes. You're not going to do that in a Big Ten. You better learn to play some defense, and you better learn to do it really, really quick. Now, granted, the guys that he's recruited are a little more defensive minded, assumedly. I mean, based on things that I've seen. But I kind of look at it like we've heard that before. It's kind of like the Iowa quarterback room. Talented quarterbacks until they get into the Iowa system, and then they look like they've never played in that position in their lives. These guys are talented defensive players until they get in the Iowa system. It's like, well, hey, shoot the ball, learn to shoot the ball really well. We won't worry about the rest of that stuff. That can be by the wayside. And that was
evident. You want to play defense, we'll beat that out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you think that, okay, you got a UCLA team,
USC.
You got a UCLA team. Yeah, I say you got a UCLA team that's been struggling. You think, okay, well, that's a good chance to maybe start to right the ship. But it's that old adage: if you are playing terrible, what's the best cure? Play Iowa.
Yep.
Because what did UCLA do? Absolutely blitzed them.
Yeah. Speaking of UCLA, that was a 94-70 loss.
And the final
UCLA shot 62%.
Final score was a lot closer than the game really was.
Oh yeah, 57-24 at the half.
Yeah.
That was, I mean,
Down
that's
33.
That's bad. I mean, that's real bad. And, when you allow the other team to shoot 62% from the field, they out-rebound you.
Well,
You have 14 turnovers,
The thing I'm curious is I would love to have seen and go back and look and see what was their field goal percentage in the first half. Because I know at one point they were like 14 or 15. Made for 14 of their first 15 shots or something like that.
They were 10 for the first 10.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get comfortable like that and you're getting the ball in rhythm and there's nobody in front of you to shoot, to stop you from shooting, I mean, and you're in your home court, I mean, it's just like practice.
Well, it was practice.
You've done it a million times. I just, I don't understand the absolute refusal to coach defense and to hold the kids accountable for their defense.
Yeah,
Iowa, hey, you need to move on and get a coach in here that wants to teach defense and offense both. One dimension of the game just isn't getting it done.
I mean, you can keep Fran McCaffrey if you want to keep him for offense, but you better hire somebody. You better have him hire somebody that can coach defense and make him an associate head coach or the co-head coach. Cut his salary. Say you guys are both doing this. One of you's coaching offense, one of you's coaching defense, and whichever one falters, you're gone. I mean, I don't know what else you can do because you got to put an ultimatum. Otherwise, they get too comfortable of, well, I just got to put up 100 points. I'm going to win 16 to 18 games by putting up 100 points. May make the tournament, may not. We don't have to worry about getting out of the first round because now I'm tenured in here and nobody's going to do anything. And don't get me wrong, I like Fran. I think he's a quality individual, a quality human being. But the job is to win games, and the job is to do it where you don't embarrass yourself on a stage like that. And they're embarrassing themselves. That's nothing worse than that. They are embarrassing themselves.
That UCLA team had come off 4 straight losses. They had lost to Rutgers.
And couldn't shoot.
Rutgers might be the worst team in the Big Ten.
Their shooting percentage in those 4 games was like 32%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, double it against
Iowa. Iowa was completely out of that game.
No, they were never in it.
Never in it. Not even from the jump were they in it. And that's embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this reminded me of like a high school varsity team versus a freshman team is what it reminded you of. You knew from the jump who was going to win that game.
Yeah,
there wasn't even going to be a question.
I equated it to some of those Todd Licklider early teams against the Michigan States and Purdue's of the world at the time.
At least he played defense.
Yeah, but it was still embarrassing to watch.
Well, as bad as that was and as bad a trip as they made, they got a chance to fix themselves coming up. They've got 2 winnable games at home, Minnesota on Tuesday and Penn State on Friday. Will either one of those be easy? Probably not.
Minnesota.
Especially the way Iowa plays defense right now. And both of those teams do emphasize defense and offense. So you're going to have to figure that part out of it. The only thing I can say is, home field advantage would be the home court advantage would be the only saving grace of that whole deal.
Yeah.
Because right now, if you play those 2 teams on the road,
you're going to lose.
Iowa's not winning either one of them. Not playing
you're
like
lose
this.
And you're going to give up 90 points to both teams at least.
Yep. It's just, I don't know what more you can say. I'm going to stop.
Well, there is nothing more you can say. It's pretty self-explanatory what the problems are. Problem's not offense, problem's defense. If you don't offer any resistance,
right,
you don't plan on winning the game. So,
do you want to go over to the second most disappointing team of the week?
Yeah. Let's
okay.
Let's do that.
We're having a 0 for 4 week this week. 2 men's losses, 2 women's losses. Iowa women Thursday lost to Nebraska 87-84 in overtime. down by 3 at the half with Nebraska, but up
11
by 5 after the third quarter and had an 11-point lead with 6 minutes left. Went to overtime. Unfortunately, prior to overtime, they had several chances at the free throw line to put the game away. I can think of one individual that transferred in from Villanova that went 1 for 6. She's an 82% free throw shooter and went 1 for 6.
One shot.
She'd have made
one of them.
2 for 6. Game's over. 2 for 6. 3 for 6. Game's over.
I do question the foul call towards the end of the game. Not the foul call. Sorry, it was the jump ball. When the girl went up, lost the ball, and come back down, and that's she shot it. She didn't hit rim or something. I don't remember what it was. It's basically
should have been a traveling, maybe
been a travel instead of a jump ball. And I'm like, that was the game right there. And then you look in the overtime. Nebraska didn't hit a single field goal in the overtime, but they were 11 of 14 from the free throw line.
Yeah, and at one point they were 100%. I think at the end of the game before overtime, they had hit every one of their free throws. I think they were 12 of 12, maybe.
I thought it was 14 of 16, but anyway, it doesn't matter based on the fact that going into the overtime, what were we? 12 of 25.
12 of 25.
Under 50% going into overtime. You make one more free throw
at home.
One more free throw, you win the game.
Well, maybe we can do a TikTok where they shoot free throws. You think?
No,
I'm not for it. I'd rather see a TikTok of them shooting free throws than it would be for them dancing around.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say anything because that's what they do. That's their kids. Their kids let them have fun. But
I'm not worried about that.
By the same token, don't miss 5 out of your 6 free throws when you're an 82% free throw shooter. Don't miss them. When the game's on the line and you are needed, and you are the third leading scorer last year in the NCAA, and you can't score double digits. You didn't even score today, 6 points maybe. I mean, you are expected to lead this team. She's not.
Well,
she's not. She's laughing and smiling and having a great time out there, and that's good. That's what the sports are for. But you can't be doing that. It looks bad.
Well,
it looks bad.
I saw the quote from Jan Jensen that said, somebody asked about who the true leader of the team was, and immediately she popped up and said, Aaliyah Guyton, a freshman, is the vocal team leader. That's pretty embarrassing.
That's a problem.
You've got how many
Not that
seniors?
She wants to be the leader. No. That's great.
But how many seniors do you have on that team that should be providing that leadership? It doesn't have to be Lucy Olson. She's a transfer in. I can totally expect the fact that if, you don't consider her the team leader, she's first year in the program, that's fine. I get that. But Sydney Falter's been there for how long? Addison O'Grady's been there for how long? Hannah Stolke. All those guys have been there for 3 years or more. And you've got a freshman who's been playing now for a little over a month and a half. And she's the person you say is your leader on your team. You've got a problem with leadership. And I said that last week. I said, there is no leader on this team. There is no go-to person that you say, that's the person leading this team down the field or down the court every time. That's pretty embarrassing that it's a freshman that she immediately says is the team leader. And again, not disparaging Aaliyah Guyton by any means. It's great for her, but it's not for the rest of the team.
I've got a stat written down here, and I said that free throws cost Iowa the game. With Nebraska, we kind of just discussed that. But did you know that Hannah Stolke and Lucy Olson were a combined 5 of 14 from the free throw line?
Well, I'm curious as to when Hannah Stolke got that concussion. Because, that could definitely affect her shooting and her play. If it came early in the game, I don't know when it happened. I can certainly, I would give her a little bit more of a pass on that. But 1 of 6 from your point guard that's shooting 82% is not acceptable. At least I get that she's a smiley person, she's a happy person, whatever. At least show some frustration in the fact that you're letting the team down by not being able to make free throws.
Yeah, it's just not a good look. Yeah. It's just not a good look.
But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, their field goal percentage with Nebraska was pretty close, 45 to 44. 3-point percentage, Nebraska was 13% better. Iowa only shot 30% from 3-point line, which is bad. Iowa's not, the women are not a good shooting team. This is just not a good shooting team, period. They have not shot the ball well all year. Not where I can say, I don't know when the last time Iowa shot 50% or even close to 50%. Of course, the free throw percentage, they did get a little bit better from 12 of 25. They did shoot 55% from the free throw line, which is not great at home. They had 41 rebounds, Nebraska's 36, and they only had 12 turnovers to Nebraska's 16. So they did take care of the ball a little bit better, and that's over a course of 45 minutes.
Well, all the stats were better than Nebraska's except for free throw shooting.
And Nebraska had a better percentage by 13% by 3-point line, and definitely 82% to 55% from the free throw line.
Exactly,
so
right.
You're right.
The game was won.
Yeah. Yep.
Lost.
Yeah, when you had the chance to put the game away and you miss 5 out of 6 from the line. Yeah, that hurts. It hurts.
Well, you don't.
Those are the things that get you beat.
You blow an 11-point lead with just under 6 minutes to go. That doesn't bode well for you either.
Yeah,
and that's a theme.
So speaking of blowing an 11-point lead, let's go to today where we blow a 15-point lead.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk about at Oregon. A 50-49 loss, set college football or basketball back 10 years. Iowa shot 37% for the game, 31% from the 3-point line, 71% from the free throw line. They out-rebounded Oregon 41-26, but they had 17 turnovers. And they went through a stretch in the end of the third quarter, I should say middle of the third quarter, all the way to the middle of the fourth quarter. I don't think Iowa scored.
I don't think they put up a shot.
And I'm not even sure that they even put up a shot.
I'll tell you.
I don't know how many offensive fouls.
I was just going to say that they were an offensive foul calling crew. Everything that,
yes.
And they were bad. I mean,
yeah.
How do you look at that with 20 seconds or 8 seconds or whatever it was? I don't know how much time was left in that game at that time. And you can clearly see on the replay, nobody from Iowa touches it. You look at the replay for 3 minutes, and then you come back and say, "Oh, Oregon ball."
Yeah. Even the announcers who are Oregon students, I would assume from BTN Plus, they were Oregon students, and they even said it looked like it's off Oregon.
Oh, it was pretty clear. I don't think Iowa ever touched it.
Not even when the ball was the closest
not even
one
to block and knock it away from her to have her touch it last. I mean, she just let the ball go through her fingers. Guyton swiped at it but missed it. You could tell that she missed it by a good 6 inches. Yep.
Yeah.
That ball to Oregon. And then what happens off the inbound? Hits a 2.
They scored.
There's your ball game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Although Iowa had a good look at the end to score, to win it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just missed the shot. I'm not sure if that's the person you want taking that last shot, especially when you have somebody right there next to the basket. I think if you'd went up strong, you might have got a foul call. Not sure, but we'll never know because we kicked it out to a free throw line shot that didn't really, it drew iron, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's disappointing to watch because you just knew, even with a 15-point lead, that you just knew it wasn't safe. That you knew that it would just, you had this sneaking suspicion in your stomach. You was like, this is all fool's gold here. We're going to figure out a way to let this one get by us. And sure enough.
How often do you see an Iowa team score single digits in a quarter? For one, single digits in a quarter, and let alone have it be 2 consecutive quarters where you only score 17 points in the second half total.
Yeah. Yeah. Frustrating.
And it wasn't
very frustrating to watch.
To me, it wasn't because Oregon played suffocating defense either. You just threw the ball away, or you had an offensive foul called against you, things that were probably, you look at yourself and think, what is this call? There was a few times where I'm like, what is this call? And the other thing I wanted to question is, they waved off the basket by Lucy Olson at the end of the first half. Right there's 2 points that would have put you in the lead. But if they wanted to say that was a shot clock violation, is that what they were trying to say? Why didn't they put 1.7 seconds left on the clock?
I think they were looking to make sure that she actually scored before the clock ran out. And I don't think there was any question about it.
The shot clock was 2 seconds in front of the game clock. There was 2 seconds difference almost 2 seconds difference between the shot clock and the game clock. So if she got it up.
But they gave her the points.
They didn't. They wiped it off. They did? So my question is, at that point, is
before the half?
Yes. We should have been up 34-22 at the half.
I need to look at that again because I would have sworn that they counted it.
They waved it off. And that's where my question is if you're going to waive that off as a shot clock violation, why was there not 1.7 seconds left put back on the clock at least? I mean, I'm not advocating that Oregon get the ball. It's not going to, but if you're going to say that shot was after the shot clock expired, there should have been 1.7 seconds. You don't just say end of half. Look at how much 1.7 seconds can make a difference in a game.
I'm going to have to look that one. I'm going to have to look at that again.
I just thought that crew and the crew against Nebraska, two of the worst crews I've seen. And that's saying a lot when you consider the fact that, there's women's basketball officiating is probably worse than men's. Well, I don't even say probably. Okay. It is worse than men's. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The game is too fast for them. It's gotten too much. Well, let's see. How do I want to say this? It's gotten better to the point where they can't keep up with it. And if you can't keep up with it, you need to get somebody else in there that can. And they are calling stuff they're just making stuff up on the fly. Well, I don't know. Let's call it this way. Oh, let's call a foul here because I missed what was really going on. So this girl ended up on the floor. It's got to be an offensive foul. I mean, I'll tell you right now, they called an offensive foul in Oregon where I thought Feuerbach flopped. So, I mean, that's smart on Feuerbach's part of knowing, hey, these guys are offensive foul calling machines. I'm just going to flop. They're going to give it to me. I mean, there's a good chance of it. Because they're never. When was the last time you had a flop warning called on either team in any game this year? I haven't seen one at all.
I don't remember one.
Yeah. And that was a big point of emphasis last year. Even the flopping. It's technical if you do it. You get the warning and then you get a technical. Well, you can't even get the warning, and it's happening all the time. If they're allowing flops to just fall and then not calling anything, and letting the play go. Okay, I'm fine with that, but don't call it when they flop and you didn't call it before. And that's a situation where this was benefited Iowa. Don't get me wrong, but I just think that's kind of an egregious thing to look at and say, it's kind of like the Music City Bowl. Those guys were intent on calling a targeting foul at some point in that game. Women's basketball, they're intent on calling at least, I don't know if they got a quota, they got to call at least 5 offensive fouls in a game or what. But it seems like there's a definite quota out there that, we got to call this many offensive fouls because it can't be clean. So, I don't know. That's my rant. I guess it's making women's basketball harder to watch. It's making basketball.
Well, Iowa's doing that well enough for themselves.
Well, yeah.
Well, hey, real quick, we're going to change the subject. I wanted to, we'll talk about the football championship game coming up on Monday night, tomorrow night. But I wanted to derail this for just a second. It's kind of a sad week for me, and I know it's a sad week for a lot of people. This week, I don't know if you know it or not, but we lost Bob Uecker. He was 90. Bob might have been one of the funniest people I've ever even been around to see at any point. I know he was on the Tonight Show 40 times. Wow. Carson loved him, and I can understand why. The man could deliver a joke as well as anybody, even the comedians. He was as good as anybody, and he could make it was self-deprecation, and he will be missed. I'm going to miss him. I'm not a Brewers fan, and I didn't listen to a lot of the Brewers games. But, going from the Miller Lite commercials where he's, hey, great seats, buddy. Hey, buddy, great seats. Hey, buddy. And must be in the front row, and he missed the tag. And to Harry Doyle on the major leagues when he was the Cleveland Indians announcer, and Rick Vaughn just a bit outside.
The funny thing about that is that really wasn't too far off from his real character.
Yeah. I've watched a ton of YouTube videos of him, and I knew who he was, and I always laughed. In fact, one of the holidays, I brought a list of Bob Uecker's quotes and things, and we just sat back and I would read them, and then we would laugh because they were so good. It's like when he was, the funniest one I think is they ask him, now you were a catcher, and he goes, yeah, I was a catcher for 14 years at 4 different ball clubs I played for. And he said, the hardest part of catching for me was when Phil Necro would pitch and he'd throw that knuckleball. And he'd say, well,
best way to catch
that knuckleball must be a hard pitch to catch. And he says, oh, you have no idea. He says, I wasn't catching it. I was just following it till it stopped, and then I would pick it up.
He always said the best way to catch a knuckleball was to wait for it to stop rolling and pick it up and throw it back to the pitcher. Or the one that I remember him talking about was, he said there was a game when Phil Necro and Joe Necro were pitching against each other, and the Necro parents were in the audience right behind home plate, and he says, I spent more time with the Necros than the boys did that entire weekend.
Yeah. He was so good. He was so funny. He says he was a lifetime 200 hitter, and his dad would come to the game and goes, what part of the field are you going to be sitting at tonight?
He says, when they were going to trade you, he says, you get things like, hey, go grab a bat and try to kill this rally.
Yeah, go grab a bat and kill the rally. Yeah, I mean, I just those people are leaving in a large number, and it's part of my youth and a part of even my adulthood that you're gonna miss it. It's going away, and there's nothing you can do about it. But I'm gonna miss Bob, and I'm gonna miss everything that he was about. And maybe someday I will get a chance to get up to Brewer Stadium and sit up there and maybe get a picture with they've got a statue of him up in the very far nosebleed section where it's even an obscured or obstructed view, and he's sitting up there. They've got a statue of him sitting up there in a seat. It's people go up there and take pictures and sit down beside him, and I want to do that. I want to go up there and do that. But I'm going to miss Bob, and I know that the world's a better place that he was here, and I have always enjoyed his Eucharisms, I guess you could say, kind of like yogiisms. And I've watched probably every episode of the Tonight Show that he was on just by watching YouTube videos this week. Not sleeping at night, of course. But yeah, Bob, I guess it was good to have been at least a chance to know you, and I hope you rest in peace, my man.
Well, it's like they said, the Earth is 4.25 billion years old, and we were lucky enough to live in a time where Bob Uecker was in it.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, I loved him.
Well, and you talk about the. To me, there's like 4 guys that epitomize play-by-play for all sports. Keith Jackson, it's just a voice that is just unmistakable and just synonymous with college football or with USC football. Vin Scully with the Dodgers, and then Howard Cosell would be another one that you knew when you heard Howard Cosell's voice, it was Monday Night Football. Those guys are synonymous with, I'm sure Cubs fans would say, you throw in Harry Carey and Joe Garagiola was another one that had a very distinct voice. But, when you look at the icons of the broadcasting world, I'd say those are some of the top people in that world. So, yep, I'm glad I got to hear, and we've got YouTube. We can go back and listen to him whenever. Same with Keith Jackson and Ben Scully and all that. But it's not the same when you consider the fact, and being a Mets fan that I am, that Bob Uecker's last call was Mets beating the Brewers to advance to the NLCS or NLDS, I should say. So.
Yeah, he could deliver a line and straight face it the whole time, and people were just cracking up around him, and he just pretended like that's really what happened. So I don't know why it's funny, but he just was so good at that just delivering that line. Oh,
And he got better
So
as
good.
he got older.
Yeah. Can't say enough good about him, but we're going to miss him. And yeah. Anyway, let's move on and talk about the national championship game that's being played tomorrow night. I know we talked about it a little bit last week. We even gave our predictions, but let's go over it just a little bit more, and because I can't get by without doing some football talk. So go ahead.
Yes, I do know where the game's played. It's in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. To me, again, that location is completely irrelevant to the two teams that are playing in it. So I will stand on that hill as long as I can. But yeah, I haven't wavered since last week. I still think Ohio State's the better team. I'm guessing probably by at least 10 points. I just think there's too much star power especially in the offensive side of the ball for them. I just don't know how they're going to keep up with Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka and be able to stop those guys. Now, and I say that because I don't watch a ton of Notre Dame football. I watched them enough to know where their strengths and their weaknesses are. I just think that Ohio State's just stronger in those areas. And I think that their defense will step up. This is their year. Plain and simple. That's just the way I look at it.
The only thing I can think of that would maybe be a problem for Ohio State would be the fact that the Notre Dame quarterback runs as much as he does. He's kind of a runner type. He'll take off and run. Some of them are even design runs that he can just, step back 2 steps and then take off and run through a hole. That's the only thing that they may need to keep maybe a closer eye on. I don't think the Texas quarterback, even though he did run on him some, I don't think that was really designed to do that. I think he just ran out of basically necessity. And he had some ability to run, but I don't know. I think that Ohio State is just, as you said, I think they're just too talented. I think they've purchased the best team that they could. And I think they're going to probably be the national champion when, tomorrow night at the end of the day. So,
And
I can't think. Yeah, go ahead.
Without an expanded playoff, wouldn't even have been in.
Most likely. Yeah. And that's, I saw something online. People are upset that, and I don't know if it was Urban Meyer that had been quoted back in 2006 that if you can't even win your conference, you shouldn't even be allowed to win the national championship. Well, okay, that's fine and dandy when it's a 4-team deal, but now it's a 12-team playoff. You can't, there's not 12 conferences to run championships out of.
Yeah.
So, that's no longer valid anymore. That statement is no longer a valid statement. My thought is, the Big Ten gets another. I think the Big Ten is going to win another championship, and that's 2 years in a row, and that's got to be making the SEC fans just
come out of their skin.
Frost. Yeah, they just. Oh, this is so hard for them to accept.
I'm not even so much.
I don't know. We'll see what next year brings, but it might happen again.
I'm less inclined to worry about what the SEC fans can think about it. I'm more.
Yeah.
It tickles me more to see the SEC pro announcers and networks that get all bent out of shape about it. That's what tickles me more. The Paul Feinbaums and the ESPNs of the world.
I thought Paul Feinbaum would have had a coronary had
Penn State been in it with him.
Had Penn State won. Yeah, he would have had a coronary.
Yeah. No,
he might have been knocking on heaven's gate right before Bob Uecker was.
The SEC can always live in their hypothetical world of being undefeated, though. So.
Oh yeah, that hypothetical. Oh, they'll beat Indiana every time.
Mm-hmm. And Indiana, when reality hits everybody, Indiana lost to the top two teams in the country on the road.
Yeah. Yep.
Put that in your pipe and smoke at SEC. They didn't lose to a 6-6 Oklahoma team that ended up 6-7. They didn't lose to a 7-6 Vanderbilt team. Sorry, they lost to 2 teams playing for the national championship.
Yeah.
say what you want about Indiana and how their schedule sucked. They took care of business where they needed to, and they lost to the two best teams in the country. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. I guess I don't have a whole lot more for this week. Maybe we'll dive into. Well, we'll have games for next week, obviously, for the men and the women, but maybe we'll look at Iowa's running back room next week and see what we come up with. Maybe there's some
every week or two
information
we'll,
there.
Maybe break down the position groups and see what's in the room and what you got coming in and what we can possibly expect. And thinking of Tim Lester and what he can do to utilize that a little bit better with a little bit better quarterbacking room this year. I do want to say,
something we could.
I do want to say one thing that I found kind of interesting is Cade McNamara transferred to East Tennessee State, and guess who's on their schedule this year? Elon, where Marco Linez went. So it'll be those two against each other. So we think. I mean, that'll be interesting to see if they both win their starting jobs and then see what they do against each other. That could be the mark of futility there.
Well, I was going to ask you about the shoulder injury to Mark Gronowski and having to have some cleanup and what your thoughts were on that and how worried you were and how if that's – and I guess I now know that from everything I've heard, Iowa actually knew that he was going to have this done, and they were
all
okay
the other
with
teams
it.
Did too.
So, yeah, and I know that Miami at one point was involved with him, and then they kind of backed off when they found that out. And then they went out and got Carson back, I think. And so, what are your thoughts? What are you thinking about Mark Gronowski's shoulder issue?
If he wasn't a grad transfer, I'd be a little more worried. But he's played enough. I'm not worried about it. And I think honestly, I've said it before. I said it last week. I think it actually helps Iowa in the sense that it allows Iowa to probably keep Brendan Sullivan as a backup, because I don't think Brendan Sullivan transfers because he doesn't know. You don't know whether this kid's going to come back from it. So had he been available in the spring, was the clear number one, and Sullivan and Brown and Jimmy Sullivan are competing for the number 2 spot at that point. For example, even throwing Jackson Stratton in there. I think if he loses out to Brown, he's gone. If it's too close between him and Brown, he's probably gone. So I think this allows Iowa to keep him, and he doesn't think of the transfer portal. Now, I say that when I say I think there's going to be a quarterback transferring, and I'm thinking it's probably going to be Jackson Stratton.
You're going to
have 6.
You can't carry 6 into this season.
Not with the 105 limit. So I think Jackson Stratton will probably be the odd man out, because you're not looking at 2 guys that you brought in transfer portal wanting out right away. Sullivan probably staying. I don't think your freshman coming in is going to transfer out because he hasn't seen the world yet. And that leaves your walk-on that's coming in as well. So, by law of averages and by odd man out, you're probably looking at Jackson Stratton. Now, had Gronowski been healthy, I think Sullivan probably would have transferred at the end of the spring.
To your point about Gronowski not being able to do any spring work as far as throwing and anything physicals that way, I think what that does is, as you said, and it gives Sullivan an opportunity to wow the coaches, to work his way in, and really give Mark Gronowski a run for his money when fall camp opens up and he's able to actually, Mark's able to do stuff. That way, he's going to be a little bit further ahead with the timing on the receivers. He's going to be that little bit further ahead with the snaps from the center that Mark Gronowski's not going to be able to take. Those are little tidbits and things that are going to put you just a little bit ahead. If it's close, that might be the deciding factor on to whether who starts. And I would assume it would be Mark Gronowski, but I'm not going to say for sure. You can
also think of it this way: it allows you to maybe give Gronowski a little bit more time to get comfortable and settled in. If he's, if he can't start throwing until June, let's say, and he's got to work on his timing. Now he's got all of the rest of June, July, and August to get the timing down with his receivers. Well, let's say that he's pretty close, but he's not quite there. Okay, let's start Brendan Sullivan against the University of Albany. It's not going to be a team that's going to beat you. And you bring Gronowski in the second half. Now, he's had a chance to see the speed of the game. He's had a chance to see the defenses from the sidelines. And, maybe he doesn't have the rapport with his receivers yet, but that helps him work on that a little bit. I don't see this as being a bad thing from that aspect. And again, you talk about, he can't physically get out there and throw the ball, but it doesn't mean he can't mentally go through the playbook, go through the film, go through all that stuff. And you can at least run the handoff plays. You can get all that stuff down.
Maybe.
And now we just worry on, okay, you know the routes. And I don't worry so much about his timings and things like that because he's experienced. He's got enough experience that he'll be able to adjust. He's got to adjust to new kids every year. I'm not that concerned with it, honestly.
And I don't think that the system that South Dakota? He was at South Dakota State. I don't think that their system is all that different than Iowa's.
Not what the Tim.
So I wouldn't think it would be It would be maybe nomenclature, different words would be the only thing he'd have to learn. But I can't think it would be that much different.
He's got the off season to do that, and that's what he has. They can focus on that now and not have to worry about other things.
Right.
So, again, I would be more concerned if he was, coming in as if this was Hank Brown in the opposite situation. I'd be more concerned, saying, okay, we're relying on Hank Brown to be our starter. Now he's going to have shoulder surgery and he's going to be out the spring. I would be a lot more concerned then, because he's had less time and less documented history of being able to do it. So,
well, we'll see. Time will tell. Hopefully things go well with his surgery and he is able to rebound as soon as he can and be back in. If nothing else, he can be in the office with the offensive coordinator / quarterback coach and learn the plays, learn everything that he needs to learn, all the cadences, all the different, all the different shout outs, call outs for the offense. So he knows what's going on. He can look at defenses. He can do all those things that doesn't require him to be physical. And then when he's cleared and he can start throwing the ball and start doing whatever he needs to do physically, then he can catch up with that. But he'd have all the other stuff, the mental part of it down. So yeah, I'm not as concerned about it as maybe as some people are. We'll see. Time will tell. We'll go on from there.
Yep. All right.
Okay, wrap it up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Question of the week.
Question of the week. I'll let you go ahead and ask the question of the week.
Well, we didn't really come up with anything great, but we're going to do this. We're going to ask the listeners to let us know what their feelings on the Iowa men's and women's basketball programs are. Do you think that the men's and women's right now, today, going forward, do you feel like Iowa is going to be either one? Do you think either one of them will be in the tournament, the big tournament, the NCAA tournament, or do you feel like they're going to be under 500 or around 500 in the conference? Give us your thoughts on where you think the men and women's basketball team is going to end up this year. You give us an expanded answer if you'd like. That would be helpful. But that's just the question. There's not really anything you need to look up. It's just basically your opinion, and opinions aren't wrong. So go ahead and just, without feeling judged, just go ahead and tell us in the comments what you feel.
Hey, I've had a lot of people tell me that my opinion sucks, so and I don't take it personally. So
just on TikTok.
Yeah, well, I find it funny to be able to come back and put them in their place, and they're like, well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway. Well, with that being said, if you like the content that you've got here, give us a like and a subscribe. If you haven't already subscribed, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, TikTok again. It's back, and we'll still be posting on there for as long as it's back. And we get a little bit of traction going on TikTok. I think we've got a couple of videos that are well over 20,000 views, and then we got another one that's close to 50,000. So we'd like to see that, like to see the engagement from people. And again, if you want to say my opinion's crap, that's fine. I don't care. It doesn't bother me one bit to have somebody say they think my opinion's crap. I'll give you my reasons why I think it's not. So we can have a civilized conversation about it.
Right. We also have merchandise for sale at the store, and there'll be QR code up periodically throughout this video. And we're sending all the profits that we get to the swarm.
Yep.
And, if you can pick up a shirt, there's some dry fit quarter zips in there. There's some hats. There's koozies, coolers. There's
shot
stocking hats.
glasses,
There's about everything.
blankets,
Shot glasses. Yeah. There's a lot of different merchandise that you can pull out of there. And then, like I say, we don't get the profits off of those. That's going to go straight to the swarm and try to get Iowa some better players and try to be a player in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
So
think about it in the sense of you get a nice piece of merchandise and you're helping out the swarm.
Yeah.
Helping out the team.
Yeah. And everything that you do is appreciated.
Absolutely. So
thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks for all the people who
we don't
have
say it
stuck
enough.
with us from the beginning. We're just one episode over a year now. So appreciate all the support.
We're
loyal listenership.
Right. We're just fans just like you guys are. We don't have columns in the Des Moines Register. We don't have other means of
We don't have media credentials.
No, we don't. We see it and we talk about it and we give our opinion. And if you like it, if you want to contribute by giving us comments, we appreciate that.
And if you want to contribute and give us comments and we feel like it's something that maybe we can expand on, maybe we reach out to you and say, hey, we're going to join us for an episode. I'd love to have some people come on here. And, sometimes, we've known each other for several years. I mean, well, all our lives. We get kind of a little tired talking to each other about this stuff. So getting another opinion in here, we're fine with that. So drop those comments and let us know if you're interested. We're obviously, if you're going to come in and say you guys are stupid and all that, we're probably not going to throw you on the air with us. But maybe if you come in and say, hey, yeah, I disagree on the Gronowski thing. I think it's really a big issue. Okay, let's have a conversation about it. Let's get you on here and let's find out why. And we'll talk about it. So
we'll debate.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right. With that, let's wrap it up and end it on a nice Go Hawks. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.